In this administration, the ball was dropped, and the lack of compassion for what is even going on, to me, is breathtaking.
Sandra Bernhard, thank you so much for joining me today with your role on FX with the hit show Pose. The character you play is a nurse who provides services to gay men of color in New York during the height of the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Some people have started to draw some loose comparison between that epidemic and the COVID-19 global pandemic. What are the parallels are you seeing?
Not only do I play Nurse Judy on Pose, which is such a great experience, having actually been there, when this was happening back in the 80s and experiencing firsthand the loss of friends. And I'll never forget the time I went to LA County Hospital to see my good friend Jack in his last days, and just the shocking sort of starkness of the hospital. And it was just, I'd never experienced anything like it before. I think back then, there was even less sort of, support and awareness of what, people were doing on the front lines. And it was all being done really, to me, sort of behind the scenes.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, because I know that you were in New York, you had friends in the community that you were seeing going through this. And so, hearing that story is very touching, and it brings it to life, because we cannot forget, that is the thing. We can't forget what happened in the 80s and the 90s during the AIDS epidemic.
It's amazing to me that it's still going on, and of course they have treatments, but they've never found a vaccine. And we're still in the situation where you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to protect yourself. Yeah. I'm not saying it's because this affects more people, because obviously AIDS has spread across the globe, and it isn't just, an LGBTQ, exclusive experience anymore. Nonetheless, this pandemic it's a next level situation that the world has kind of been standing by waiting for. And sadly, in this administration, the ball was dropped, and the lack of compassion for what is even going on, to me, is breathtaking. As little compassion that was going on during the AIDS epidemic, there was still, ACT UP happened, and, in God's love, we deliver. There were so many grassroots organizations that stepped in. But when you have a president who's like leading an entire country and day to day telling them misinformation that's going to lead to more and more, deaths, I don't understand how that works. But that's a sidebar.
Historically, marginalized communities are often disproportionately impacted by these kind of public health emergencies. We saw it with the AIDS epidemic and the disproportionate number of gay men of color who died from the disease. Now, decades later, with COVID-19, we are seeing a disproportionate number of Black Americans dying in higher numbers of the virus. Why do you think that these imbalances continue to persist?
Obviously, you know better than I do that, so much of your community is marginalized. The racism in this country continues to be an undercurrent. And again, I point to our president, who has stirred the embers of all sorts of hatred towards the Black community, towards the Latin community, and on and on and on. So that doesn't help, bring people together and shore up these communities, and especially the Black community.
I want to give you an opportunity to talk to people who are watching this right now, who may be leaning towards not voting. And I want you to tell them, how important is this presidential election? Send them a message.
Oh. I think that there's only one answer. Do you want to see the world, continue to disintegrate, dissipate? The environment alone is something that we've got to get back to, because without the balance of nature and water and clean air, we're done. We're at the precipice. It's already happening. So for anybody to sit back, whether you're a parent, whether you're, a young person whose future is unfolding in front of you, you've got to take that leap. You've got to get up. You've got to be motivated. You've got to be inspired to want to do the best you can for yourself and the future of this planet. That's why we're here. Of course, it's a brief visit on this planet, but humans are here for a reason. And if we're not going to, perpetuate the best of who we are, then what have we done? We can all do a little bit, and that certainly involves being motivated, to go out and express your rights as a citizen and support one another.
Joe Biden has committed to having a woman as his running mate.
Yes.
Do you think this country is ready for a woman VP, vice president?
Oh, undoubtedly. I mean, I think far beyond a woman for president. I think that everybody's expecting a woman to be a vice president, looking forward to it, embracing it. And I think that's going to possibly be the only stepping stone for a woman to achieve the highest office. I just think that, I don't know what it is about this country and their fear and their misogynies and sexism. And it goes, it all goes hand in hand with racism and all the other things that, people just can't seem to shed. But I think people are ready for a woman vice president.
You started your career at a really young age. I think I read 19 years old. And
that's right.
What would you tell your 19-year-old self, the person you would become?
I would just say never lose your enthusiasm or the love for what you do, and sort of the excitement of every day unfolding, meeting new people, having, these sort of wondrous experiences of meeting people like you, and just being open to all these things. And I think it's something that I've been able to maintain throughout my life and my career, to always be excited to meet people, hear new ideas, and, just keep evolving and being excited about my life and my career and my artistry.
Thank you so much for all that you have done throughout your career. And you are such a strong voice for marginalized people, for women, for artists. Thank you. Thank you, my
Thank
son.
you so much, Corinne. Thank you,
really
honey.
appreciate this.
Stay well, stay strong.